Believe in Bigfoot? Dogman? Any cryptid? Are you skeptical?
Curious about the supernatural, conspiracy theories, the unknown? Then come join us as we explore facts, tall tales, and encounters on Creatures and Curiosities.
Hello and welcome to Creatures and Curiosities. I'm David.
And I'm Jake.
And in this week's episode, we are going to be talking about Clinton Road. Now, if you'll remember in the last episode with the Hellhounds were spotted out there on Clinton Road.
Yep.
And then as we did a little digging into the sightings of these Hellhounds, we found that Clinton Road was quite the horrifying place.
It's a horrible place to be, yeah.
So before we get into it, how was your week and how were things in your life?
It's good. The trip was fun that we took to watch Grace. And
yeah.
That was amazing, but I'm glad to be, two things. I'm glad to be back home.
Yeah, out of the heat and humidity.
That was the second thing. Glad to be out of I don't mind the heat. I'd rather it not be hot.
Yeah.
But the humidity with the heat was
pretty brutal.
No thanks. Pass on that.
Luckily, we did get to go to a Nashville Sounds baseball game. That was your son's first baseball game.
First baseball game's phenomenal.
And the cool part about it was little Thea got to be on the Mobitron.
Yep.
She was on TV because you held her up and she was doing her little dance and the camera crew loved her.
And then my son got to take home 2 game balls.
He got 2 game balls out of it. And then the Nashville Hot Chicken came dancing down the top of the dugout and handed the a little T-shirt.
Yeah, so it was
quite an outing.
Yeah,
it was a great time for a first game for him.
Oh yeah,
too.
I don't think you could have paid to have a game that good.
No,
a first.
It was perfect. Yeah.
And how many baseball games have you been to? Have you ever had stuff like that? That many things happen?
Not in one game.
In one game. Yeah,
I've been to a million games.
Right.
And no, I've been fortunate enough to catch foul balls in the past and whatnot, but it hasn't happened in many years for me. But that was a great outing. And then we had good food, Hattie B's chicken, which I'm going to throw a shout out to Hattie B's.
Yep.
We don't have one here in Montana, obviously. But man, that's some good
It's the best
food.
chicken I've ever had.
Yeah.
You pair that with the banana pudding from Edley's Barbecue.
Oh.
I'll eat that 3 meals a day. every day.
A day. And then throw in the Loveless Cafe's biscuits with the homemade preserves and the country gravy and the chicken and waffle.
It's too good.
I think I put on 300 pounds.
At least that, yeah.
But anyway, it was a great time. And my daughter, Grace, reason we were back there, she graduated with her doctorate. So again, congratulations to her.
Yes.
And let's move on to the story.
Yeah.
Have you seen any Hellhounds lately?
I've been looking for them every day.
I've looked too.
And nothing.
I've seen none, but these people have seen them quite often. And out there on Clinton Road, now when I got actually into the story of Clinton Road, I don't think we found a whole lot on it.
Not as much as we thought when we were researching Hellhounds.
Right.
All the stuff that was popping up about Clinton Road, it's like you could have 10 episodes on this.
10 episodes, and then you got to get into it. It's like, well, wait a minute. There wasn't as much as we thought. But there's a lot. There's just not a lot of specifics. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So let's jump into it. This is going to be not our normal format of, description and sightings and locations and all that kind of stuff because it's one location.
Right.
It's Clinton Road in New Jersey. And I will describe the roadway maybe and, like its surroundings and where it's located and whatnot. But then once we get into this podcast, we're really just going to be talking about the different legends surrounding that particular area.
Right. And one of the legends could lend credibility to the origin story.
Which
we'll get to it, but
we will get to that, definitely. And then everybody's going to go, here they go.
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
Right?
But it is what it is.
But it is what it is. And I think it is the reason that these things occur.
Right. And so just so everybody knows, it's hard being right all the time.
Yeah.
So just know that
it truly is.
Just know we don't always feel good about it.
No, I know. But you know what? When you're right, you're right.
When you're right, you're right.
So Clinton Road, it's located in West Milford, which is in New Jersey in Passaic County. And it is a desolate, narrow, 2-lane, 10-mile stretch of highway that runs between the Patterson-Hamburg Turnpike, which is also known as Route 23, and the Warwick Turnpike at the far north end of it. At the far south and north ends of the road, there are residential areas. Now, along that 10-mile path that goes, it's basically, for the most part, runs north and south, but the road kind of snakes a little bit, so there's portions that are east and west. There are spattered homes throughout that 10 miles, but I mean, they're very, far between.
Right.
So if you're looking at Google Earth or something like that, and you're going to look at Clinton Road, most of the road you can't even see because it's got a lot of trees and whatnot. But then you'll see just very sporadically a couple of homes during that 10-mile stretch. So for the most part, you could just say it's a desolate area. The majority of the roadway is nestled in this really heavily wooded, dense, tree-lined area, and it snakes its way past different reservoirs and ponds. The Clinton Reservoir is the big one down at the south end of it. But there are little ponds and creeks that run alongside it and are either east or west of it, these little bodies of water. The area is very secluded with limited cell service. And what I read about it is that if you get out there and break down, the likelihood is you're not going to be able to call for help. If you were able to walk to a home, it could be miles.
Right.
Before you find a particular house, depending on where you are.
You could be ripped to shreds before
You
then.
could be ripped to shreds, yeah. Or abducted, or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of things.
There's a lot of things that'll occur in this particular area. People will say all the time, if you break down, stay in your car. Well, you may not have a choice.
Right.
You might have to get out and walk, and then Lord knows what's going to happen to you.
And not everybody stops for cars that are broken down.
No.
So if you're expecting a car to just come by and be like, oh, look, let me
Right.
pull over and help you.
And if you're out there at night, because it's not really a true residential area, the likelihood is there's not going to be much traffic anyway.
Right.
So you might have to get out and walk. I know there's a stretch of highway that they call it like Alligator Alley, where if you stop somewhere out there to fix your tire,
Yeah.
the likelihood is that you're going to get snapped and dragged off the
It's a
roadway
two-man
by-
job.
Yeah.
One
it's
guy watching with a shotgun and the other guy changing the tire.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so in this particular area, you don't have to worry about alligators. You got to worry about a multitude of other horrifying things of paranormal, spiritual, or demonic realm.
Right.
So who knows which one that you might encounter. At the southern end of this roadway, there are some historic landmarks. One being the Clinton Furnace, and the other being the former site of the Cross Castle. Both of those we're going to talk about towards the end of the podcast. Both of those are areas you probably don't want to be in. However, those are the very areas that you would go see if you're going to go to Clinton Road.
Right.
So if you're out there thrill seeking, you'd go there. If you're out there to look at like historic stuff, you'd go there. Otherwise, there's no real reason to go to these two places. But once you get there, you may or may not encounter something that you don't want to deal with. And so when we get to those, that's kind of the fun part of the story. Now, Clinton Road is considered to be one of the most haunted roadways in the entire world. In the United States, I think it is the most haunted, or speculated to be the most supernatural events and whatnot on a specific roadway. Other places that I found throughout the world, because I thought, well, if it's one of the most haunted roadways, what else
Exactly.
is there out there? And some of the examples were the E8 expressway in Malaysia, the A3 motorway in Croatia, and one that I found interesting was the Tuan Mun Road in Hong Kong. And that one sports multiple accidents a year. And what they find every time they talk to these people that have had accidents on that roadway in Hong Kong is they were swerving to avoid somebody that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So apparitions and ghosts and whatnot stand in the middle of the roadway, and then cars swerve to avoid them, and they end up crashing, and then the person's gone when the police arrive.
And then, of
whatnot.
course, it's just chalked up to, oh, you probably bumped your head in the accident.
Yep, you're
You
an
didn't
idiot.
see
Yep.
anything.
So barring those other places that are considered to be horrifying roadways as well, Clinton Road is up there in the world of roads you don't want to be on.
Right.
Clinton Road basically is spattered with these legends of ghosts, satanic rituals, demons, phantom vehicles, UFOs, unearthly creatures like hellhounds. It's been reported that the Jersey Devil's been seen there. And it's also rumored that professional killers dispose of bodies in the surrounding woods, with one recorded case of this actually occurring. And I thought, why would professional killers be disposing bodies on this roadway? Of course,
Right.
when you look at it on a map, well, because it's sparse. There's bodies of water you can throw people in, I suppose. It's heavily wooded. It's dense. So, I imagine they don't just like leave the body on the roadway. They drag it off someplace into the forest, right?
Right.
But what I really found out of this is that there's really only one case. And when you type in how many dead bodies have been found out there, one.
Right.
and this was an actual case in May of 1983. I think it was like May 18th. The body of Daniel Deppner was found when a cyclist was riding down Clinton Road, and he sees this corpse on the side of the road being eaten by a turkey vulture. And Deppner's body had been wrapped inside a green garbage bag before being dumped on the side of the roadway. Well, ultimately, the way the story ends is this guy by the name of Richard Kuklinski, a.k.a. the Iceman, was charged and convicted of his murder. So Kuklinski was this self-described hitman for the mob, and he was ultimately convicted of 5 murders, though he said he killed over 200 people. Authorities obviously didn't believe that he killed that many people, and they could only account for 5 that he had killed. Now, he also claims that he didn't actually do the murder, but that he was involved in the Jimmy Hoffa case.
That's right.
Yeah. So, they never found him, right? So he's probably in a cement foundation of a building somewhere.
Probably off of Clinton Road.
Probably off of Clinton Road. Yeah, you never know. He was sentenced to 60 years for those murders, but then they ended up finding some more information on him, and they put 2 additional life sentences that were supposed to be served consecutively. And he ended up dying in 2006 at the age of 70. I think he had a heart attack or something in prison. So good riddance, to the guy. But this literally is the only case of a dumped body. And so you can see how one incident turns into people saying
it's a known site
it's
for
a
killers.
known site for the dumping of bodies by professional killers.
Right.
Well, unless they turn up some more in the next, 10 minutes or so, according to this podcast.
Right.
One guy.
It's a known site
in the history of Clinton Road.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a basic description, and obviously the location of the roadway. So if you're a thrill seeker, you want to go out there and you're hoping that you have some form of paranormal activity occurring either in front of you or to you, this is probably one of the first places that you'd go in America. Now, I've never been one to really believe in like ghosts and stuff.
Right.
I do believe in demons. I do believe in angelic beings, and I do believe that there is spiritual warfare going on around all of us. And so when you get into like the definition of supernatural occurrences, I 100% believe that they occur.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't think that it's grandma came back to flick
She's
on a light
saying hello.
switch.
Yeah. Nope.
To share a recipe.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. I don't think of it in those terms. I think of it more, I guess, ghastly, right? I mean,
yeah.
I'd rather have a ghost than a demon. I'd rather know that it was my mom that I saw an apparition walking up the stairs than the demon of lust or something,
exactly.
taking over my home. But that's how I look at things. I know that there's spiritual things going on. There's plenty of haunted places in the world, right? There's Alcatraz. There's just books in every community you go to. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be in Los Angeles, go to a bookstore and look up haunted places in Los Angeles. There'll be like 100 listed, right?
Right.
I don't know if you remember me telling you this story, but here in Montana, one of the most haunted places is Bannock.
Right.
And so anybody that comes to Bannock, there's a ghost town there. And it's kind of cool. It's just, I don't even know when it's from. It's 1800s or the early 1900s, but it's this little like residential neighborhood that nobody lives in because it's now a historical site. And they're just these abandoned homes, abandoned buildings, like a church and a library and I think a post office and some homes and stuff. Well, I had gone there several years ago just to kind of get a glimpse of, this ghost town and check it out.
Yeah, something fun to do.
Something fun to do on a weekend. And I took my granddaughter and one of my nieces with me. I think Grace was with me too. But so we went out there and we're walking up and down this street, and my little granddaughter was too afraid to go in the buildings because it's called a ghost town. She thought there was going to be a ghost.
Just walking around, yeah.
Yeah. So she did not want to go in to any of these buildings. So for the most part, I stayed out on the sidewalks. So I kind of missed out on some of it. Everybody else went in, went upstairs, looked around these old buildings, and they're all beautiful homes. I mean, they're rickety and dilapidated now, but you can still see the architecture of the day, right?
Right.
Everything was done pretty cool. So we're walking up and down this roadway. Kids are going in and out. And then I'd run in and they'd stay with my granddaughter out on the sidewalk. And we get all the way to the end of the street and we cross over and we're walking back. And we're probably at the last big, like 2-story home. And next to the 2-story home is this little building that was used kind of like as a maintenance building. It was part of the community, but they turned it into like a little maintenance building or something. And there's a guy standing out there. So I'm looking at this 2-story home, and up in the window of the second floor, there's this guy looking at me. And I thought, oh, we ought to go in that little building, go up there and check that out. And so I think I even made a comment to Grace or my niece. And there's somebody up there in the window looking down at us, so let's go in this place and head up there. Well, there was a little staircase that went up the outside of the building, but it's all blocked off. So we go in the house, and the staircase that went upstairs was completely blocked off. I mean, like as in not a little rope across it, but you can't go up there.
Right.
Period.
Like they got plywood or something up, totally blocking it off.
Completely blocked off. I was like, well, how do you get upstairs where those other people were? And so I think it was Grace says, well, there's stairs on the side of the place. So I try and go around to the back, and there's nothing in the back that you can access. It's just that little white rickety staircase that's going up the side of the building. And it's completely chained off. Can't get up there. And I thought, well, people are up there. Crying out loud. Yeah. So how do they get up there? So the little maintenance guy is now like walking by us. And I said, excuse me, sir. We just went in the building here and, the staircase is blocked off. How do you get to the second floor? And he says, you don't. And I said, well, somebody's up there. He goes, there's nobody up there. And I said, well, somebody was just looking down out of the window. And he's like, no, you got to be mistaken, buddy, because that is just this little storage area for us. That's why it's blocked off. He says, we've got like boxes of crap up there, but I have the key. You see, even the door's locked, so not only is the staircase blocked off, but that door at the top is locked. It's got a padlock on it. And I said, well, there's people up there though. They were literally looking down at me. And he's like, he says, well, maybe you saw one of the ghosts. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, he goes, this area is haunted, right? And I'm like, well, I don't believe that, stuff. It's ghost town because nobody lives here. He goes, no, it's a ghost town because there's ghosts that live in these homes. And I'm like, I just looked at the kids and I'm like, I don't know if he's pulling my leg because there's somebody up there. It's got to be a worker or something, right?
Look, buddy, we already bought our tickets.
We already bought our tickets.
You don't need to sell it.
It's the last house and we're leaving, Can I just go up there? And he swears that you can't get up there. The room is padlocked. There's nobody up there. And you didn't see anybody. And if you did see something, it was a ghost. Well, I left there like kind of freaked out.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm like, well, maybe I need to reevaluate this whole ghost thing because I know what I saw. And then all I could think of was maybe they're pulling my leg. Maybe it was a maintenance worker up there and that was all just a joke. But
Yeah.
I still don't know to this day. All I know is we couldn't get up there. He claims that, and of course we verified that it was all locked. You can't go in there. So things happen. Supernatural things happen. Whether it was a demon, an angel, a ghost, or a nut that's locked himself in the room.
Some transient guys up there.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I know things can happen. So when people say they saw stuff, you can't just say they're nuts.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm a nut, because I know I saw something. So anyway, I just throw that little story out there before we get into this stuff. So here's the legends and the folklore of Clinton Road. The first and probably most popular story of Clinton Road is called the Ghost Boy Bridge. Now, on the map, there's an area called Dead Man's Curve. On the map, it doesn't say it's Dead Man's Curve, but I'm pretty sure that at the southern end of the reservoir, when you first start heading north on Clinton Road, you start going up the reservoir. But there's like an arm of the reservoir that goes out. And then the road swings around it really hard curve right there. And then it swings back and goes north again. And so I believe that's where Dead Man's Curve is on some of the stuff that I was looking at, and it literally doesn't state that on the map, but I'm pretty sure that's where it is. So it's right there, just north of the entrance of Clinton Road. I don't know what the distance would be on it, but it's on the first major curve as you spin around the reservoir.
Right.
Well, the legend of this Ghost Boy Bridge refers to a story about this young boy who died on one of the bridges, because I think there's a couple there as it goes around. This area located on Clinton Road at the southeast portion of the Clinton Reservoir, and there's a few different accounts of what actually had happened out there. One story tells that the boy was swimming in the reservoir and he drowned, while another says, no, he was sitting on the railing and he fell into the reservoir and drowned. While yet another story says that he was walking along the roadway and he either dropped or he found a quarter on the roadway, and when he bent over to pick it up, a car came around the curve and struck him. And it either killed him on the roadway, like right there, right then and there, or it hit him so hard it sent his little lifeless body into the reservoir. Not sure, and it depends on which story, you want to believe.
Right.
Yet another story says that the boy was dropped off at the bridge by his friends on a dare. It was nighttime. They were trying to scare him. And they were like, okay, you wait here on the bridge while we drive all the way up to Route 23, which is the far north end of Clinton Road, and back. And when we get back, you can tell us if you saw anything or whatever, So he's supposed to stay at the bridge by himself. And they take off. So he does. He stays there. When they return, they find him dead. So in any account of this story, however you want to believe that it occurred, this little boy supposedly died at Dead Man's Curve, and it's believed that his ghost now lives there somewhere under or around that bridge. Now, there's a few different variations of how to summon that little boy's ghost and what he might do if he does show up. One lore says that if you go to that location at midnight and place a quarter in the roadway, the ghost of the boy will return it to you. Another says that if you flip a quarter into the reservoir, again, the little boy is going to return that quarter to you. Now, the lore doesn't say, does he do it right then, or does it show up on your nightstand the next morning, or do you see him? Is there an apparition?
And does he walk out and pick it up and bring it to you?
Yeah. It doesn't really get into that anywhere, but supposedly he returns it to you in some fashion. Another story says that if you get out of your car and you stand on the bridge, you'll see a quarter drop out of the sky onto the roadway. And when you bend over to pick it up, the little ghost boy pushes you over the bridge into the reservoir. And a lot of people think that he's trying to save you from being hit by a car.
No, he's killing you.
He's
Because he's a
killing
little
you.
demon.
He's a little demon. But a lot of people think that, he doesn't want you to suffer his demise, so he's saving you by pushing you off the bridge. Some people have said that you can actually see this kid's apparition in the roadway.
Which is maybe why they call it Dead Man's Curve.
Dead Man's Curve.
Swerve to miss him.
Right. And so I started looking. Are there any accidents on Clinton Road? Well, that in and of itself was tough. And Google will say, contact the local law enforcement, for statistical data on accidents and whatnot. But I could not find any. I don't know. Were you able to see anything either? No, because there's nothing out there. So I don't think there's a whole lot going on at Dead Man's Curve other than the lore of a little boy ghost. Now, also, when you get into it, there's no name of the boy. There's no indication that any of this is real or ever happened. And so it's really hard to say how this even came up.
Right.
There's no origin of the lore that I could find.
Or no accounts of my name's Sarah, and on February, whatever, I saw this. There's none of that either.
No, and that's the frustration behind this particular area is nobody's coming forward. Maybe they're all dead.
Now there's the general yep, a lot of people have claimed to see it.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't give you any specifics.
Exactly. And I think as you get into it, it'll literally state there are hundreds of stories of, this, that, and the other thing. And it's find one.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. You can always count on Reddit, right? You can go on Reddit, you can type stuff into Reddit. Somebody will claim something. I don't care what it is, right? Yeah. Somebody will say, yep, that happened to me.
Just to get likes on Reddit, probably.
Yeah, but then there's no specifics behind it. And so there's nothing verifiable. So in this particular portion of Clinton Road, the lore of the ghost boy at the bridge, there's nothing that you can stand on.
Right.
So let's move into the next one. If you want to cover the ghostly vehicles.
Yeah. So some people have encountered a ghostly blue Chevy Camaro that is driven by a girl who died when she crashed it back in 1988. The legend says that a young girl was driving on Clinton Road and lost control of her vehicle, crashing into a cement barrier on one of the sharp curves. And the impact, of course, killed her, and now she haunts the area in her blue Camaro. Now, any mention of her while driving on the road at night is supposed to trigger a manifestation. If she does appear, you will generally hear the sound of the engine first before the vehicle races by you, with no driver being in the seat. And this generally happens near the curve where she was killed.
Now, again, is it Dead Man's Curve? Well, no, there's no specific to this lore either.
Right.
Now, we're talking about a 10-mile stretch of road. There's a lot of curves on this road. There's also a long straightaway that heads northbound when you're next to the Clinton Reservoir. But there are a lot of little curves on that roadway, but nobody says where this is.
Right.
And there's multiple reports of people being chased by this car, or it zooming past them, literally blowing wind, and where your car kind of rocks from.
Yeah.
But try and find anybody that will nail that down. Not going to happen.
Nope.
So
just stories saying it happened.
Just stories. Yeah.
The most well-known story is of the ghost truck. This is the legend of a phantom black pickup truck, and it's been told for over about 30 years. According to the story, a man named Giles Jones once lived in a farmhouse in the middle of a remote rural area. Now, he had a few crop fields, just enough to keep a steady income, and he was known as a cruel and hate-filled man who demanded privacy and was infamous for chasing anyone off who came too close to his property, usually while holding a shotgun. And I just picture Clint Eastwood in that Gran Torino movie,
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, exactly. He was known for following trespassing motorists in his black pickup all the way into town before he turned around and headed back. So essentially just driving them out to make sure that they stay away, essentially.
Get them off the property.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Clinton Road was a long, unpaved roadway that passed by Giles' house and then into the woods, where the road eventually narrowed into an impassable trail. Giles felt Clinton Road belonged to him and warned that if he ever saw a vehicle on the road heading towards his home, he would assume they were out to do him or his property harm. Over the years, several motorists confirmed that if you drove on the roadway, he would eventually show up and chase you off. Some people learned this by accident, while others went out to purposely rile him up.
Well,
which,
you know, that's going to happen.
yeah, because
We'd do it.
we would do it. Exactly. It might not be to rile him up, but we'd
Right.
purposely go out there to see if it was.
See if we're going to get
And
chased.
it sounds like he gets riled up by anything. So
Yeah.
Giles, while working in his field, ended up suffering a heart attack and died. Having no family, Giles's home, land, and his black pickup sat abandoned for many years, becoming dilapidated, overgrown, and the vehicle, of course, rusting away. Now, eventually the state seized the property, but did nothing with it, which sounds exactly like something a state or government agency would do. Just buy something to have it.
Just let it sit there and rot.
Right.
Got it in probate, because there was no family.
Exactly. They probably didn't even pay a dime for it. They were probably just like,
Yeah.
well, this is ours now.
Yeah.
Now, this is where the legend took off. People say that if you drive down Clinton Road during the nighttime hours and honk your horn 3 times,
There we go.
there it is, 3 times always, Giles will come chasing you down in his black pickup truck and fire his shotgun out the window. Many townspeople claim that this has happened to them, but of course, with no proof, the claims were dismissed.
As they probably should be.
They should be, yeah.
Right? I mean, we have to go by evidence.
Right.
You got no solid witness. You got, nothing going on.
Right.
And if you think about it, this is an abandoned old truck that probably can't start or run on a crappy rundown piece of property.
Exactly.
And who would believe that they're being chased by a phantom vehicle?
Right.
But if you were in law enforcement and went out and looked into it, and you still see the old dilapidated, rusted out vehicle sitting there, there's no way you'd say,
Yeah.
oh, there it is, and it chased them.
Yeah.
Right.
You would just say, okay.
So you would dismiss it as a lore.
Right. Kids out having a good time.
Yep.
They're either playing a prank on me or they scared themselves, and you would just dismiss it.
Right. Exactly.
There is a legend circulating that a group of teens, led by a kid named Roger Kavitz, went into the Dunes Cantina and let everyone know that they were going to drive down Clinton Road, honk their horn 3 times, and try to summon up Giles. Then they were going to spray paint their initials on the old abandoned pickup. The bartender allegedly told them to leave it alone, but of course, teenagers being teenagers, they ignored him.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't listen to them either.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to go out there and spray paint my initials on it.
Exactly.
It's kind of a dare.
Yeah. You think I'm scared? No, watch. I'm not scared. I'll
Yeah,
do it. Yeah.
exactly.
And that's how every person dies in a horror movie.
That's correct.
Supposedly, a man by the name of Jim Ford lived on Clinton Road in the more populated residential area about 2 miles from Giles' property. He said that sounds of distant gunfire had awoken him from his sleep. He stepped out onto his front porch just in time to witness Roger Kavitz's bright red Firebird speed down the road, which was being pursued by a black pickup truck. The 2 vehicles vanished into the darkness, and Jim went to call local law enforcement about what he had witnessed. Hours later, Roger and his friends were found dead in Roger's bright red Firebird. Firebird was in the middle of Clinton Road, smashed in on every side. The boys' bodies had been so chewed up and pulverized inside the car that bits of their flesh, bone, and blood had sprayed all over the other boys' bodies. So
Pretty violent.
pretty violent, yeah.
Yes.
Almost like they exploded.
Right.
Jim told the sheriff exactly what he had seen. So the sheriff, doing what he should do, drove over to Giles' property to look around for anything suspicious. The sheriff spotted Giles' old black pickup sitting in its usual spot. The sheriff saw fresh white spray paint all over the truck's rusted metal. They were the initials of the boys found dead in their car. A bright red paint transfer matching that of the Firebird was found on the front bumper.
Okay, so that'd be kind of freaky.
Right. The cause of the crash and subsequent deaths of the boys were never solved, and most of the locals that remember the accident won't even speak of the incident.
Well, so a great story.
Great story.
Until you try and get into it.
Right.
So as soon as you type in Jim Ford and Giles Jones and Roger Kavitz, and none of these names exist.
Right.
Nobody of those names lived in New Jersey. The accident never occurred. There's no record of any deaths on the highway.
Yeah. And that would be a record. Small town.
Absolutely would.
Group of teenage boys die in a fiery crash where their body looks like it exploded on everybody.
Yeah.
That's going to make the paper at least, or there's
100
going to be some kind of documentation.
100% would be documented. There's absolutely no doubt.
And you read that
about that.
You know, it sounds morbid to say, but you read that story kind of hopeful because you're like, God, that's horrible, but that's a good story. And then you're kind of irritated that it's all just kind of the story.
You want it to happen.
Yeah.
As horrifying as that is, but I mean, you just do, you know? And then I have to say that I was so interested in this particular story because there were names. There was no date on this.
Right.
But I even tried looking up this Dunes Cantina, and there's no such place.
Yeah.
There's the Dune 18 restaurant in New Jersey, but it's not over there on Clinton Road or anything, or even in that like neighborhood.
Right.
So I thought, well, maybe this is back in the 70s or something, and it no longer exists.
I mean, the kid's driving a Firebird, so maybe. Yeah.
So it's 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Right. Nope.
Nothing.
No such existence of any such place, which now just brings this back to urban legend.
Right.
So if you can verify that none of the names are real, the incident didn't occur, and the places didn't exist, then it can't be true.
Right.
No matter how you slice it.
Yeah. Which, if you're listening to us and this is our first episode you've listened of us, know that this is stuff that we believe in.
Yeah.
So when we sound irritated about this stuff,
yeah, we were criticized right out of the chute by some guy on Reddit.
Yeah.
These guys are jerks, you know, blah, blah, blah.
And then someone questioned him, shouting, thanks to that guy. You know, what makes you say that? Have you listened to their stuff? No, just in my experience, people are rude.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, come on.
So we're not mocking people that believe in cryptids.
No.
We believe in them.
Yeah, wholeheartedly.
It's just this particular story is a little hard to swallow when there's no evidence of it.
Yeah, especially when they're like, there's hundreds of accounts.
Yeah.
But you can't give me one account.
Can't give me one.
Just give me one.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Very sad because we wanted it to be true.
Exactly. Now, although there's no evidence to suggest the incident occurred or any named parties existed, like we were just saying, with all that being said, there are several reports of phantom vehicles such as pickup trucks and Camaros, or even just floating headlights not attached to any vehicle, that supposedly appear from nowhere and trace drivers to the end of the road, and then out of nowhere it just disappears. Now, again, that's one of those things where there's a lot of accounts, but there's no specifics, as in Mike on this day saw this at this time.
Right. And yet, several reports.
Hundreds of reports.
Hundreds of reports of these phantom vehicles out there on Clinton Road, and can't find one of them.
Yeah.
Now, I did go trying to search for a whole bunch of different things relative to accidents, and it was sparked by this particular incident, right? And I did find a couple of weird ones.
Right.
June of 2025, a guy falls out of his Jeep and dies on the roadway on Clinton Road. March 2025, two teens drive their car off the road near Terrace Pond. The vehicle catches on fire. They can't get out. And somehow, some way, they're rescued by Milford police officers and a Good Samaritan that I guess saw the smoke coming from the vehicle. And they rushed down there and they were able to get these two teens out. They're severely injured. And the two police officers that were trying to pull them from this burning wreckage, they end up going to the hospital as well, being treated for some form of injury. You know, it doesn't get into it because you got HIPAA violations and everything else.
Exactly.
My assumption is maybe they were burned or whatever in the process of doing this. Now, both of those incidents were still under investigation, so there's no detailed information on what actually occurred. So just for fun, let's throw out there that, is it possible that there was an apparition in the roadway? The little boy at the dead man's curve. Now, the one up by Terrace Pond is more towards the north, but we are going to, our very next story happened at Terrace Pond.
Right.
And so there's supernatural activity up there as well. Is it possible that there was some supernatural activity that made either of these people lose control of their car, burst into flames.
Right.
I mean, who falls out of their vehicle, a moving vehicle? I mean, I know a Jeep might not have door. I mean, if it's like an old CJ6 or something.
Yeah, and there's people who pop their doors off in the summertime.
Yeah, might not have doors. Maybe he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Maybe he was driving too fast, lost control. I don't know what the incident actually
Or maybe they saw a small boy in the road.
Yeah.
And swerved. Or maybe headlights came towards them.
Yep.
Swerved into their road. They went to swerve out of the way, even though it was just headlights.
You never know. See? Because there's no further information on it, and they're both under investigation. Couldn't get any detail on it. So I'm jumping to the conclusion that something supernatural happened to these people. And I'm sticking with it.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what it is.
It had to be. It's Clinton Road. Accidents don't just happen on Clinton Road.
There's no way.
This is supernatural stuff.
That's right. Dead Man's Curve is Dead Man's Curve for a reason.
Exactly. So moving into the next story, let's talk about the one of the park rangers.
Yeah.
The story of the park rangers involves a group of campers who, up there at the north end of Clinton Road, off to the east side, there is this little area called Terrace Pond. It is accessible from Clinton Road by a hiking trail. So I don't know, these people probably parked somewhere down, near the roadway, and then they took a hiking trail and they walked back to camp for the night. And it's a very secluded spot on the map. It's still there, obviously. On the map, when you look at it, I mean, this is a tiny little pond that is just surrounded by forest land. And I would imagine it's probably a great place for a little bit of solitude, peace and quiet away from the city. So even if you live close by, a 15, 20-minute drive up Clinton Road, hike back there to the pond, you'd be like in the middle of the nowhere.
Right.
With no cell service or anything else.
Exactly.
So you get all your peace and quiet that you would want. So these campers, they go up there and they report that these two park rangers come by, and then they warn them about like their campfire, how to put it out properly, and telling them, that the area's potential fire danger zone. And then they warn them about like excessive drinking back there. Don't be doing that kind of stuff. And so I guess they have this conversation with the rangers. They tell them, you know what, we're going to do the right thing back here. We're just here camping for the night. And the rangers leave. Well, the next morning, the campers get up and they return to their vehicle, and they find that they got a parking ticket on it. So the rangers wrote this parking ticket. Well, later they end up going, I think it was to a police station. It was either like a state trooper or the local police, Milford Police or something. And they tell them what occurred, and then they're informed by those officials that there's no park rangers on duty out there. There's nobody out there. So the description that these campers gave of the two rangers that literally had a conversation with reportedly match the two men that were killed in the line of duty on Clinton Road in 1939. Well, that makes it one of the most eerie supernatural occurrences associated with Clinton Road that was verified by like police and campers and, these people out there.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, wow, now that is a cool story. Right up until you try and find these two park rangers that were killed in 1939, and apparently that never happened. Another legend made up for whatever reason, I don't know, but there is no verifiable evidence that two park rangers were ever killed in New Jersey, anywhere near Clinton Road, and then showed up 75, 80 years later to
issuing citations.
And so then you're like, okay, well, let's see the citation. Like, who signed it?
Yeah.
No, there's no citation. No evidence of such. So it's just yet another story that you're like, if you keep letting me down here, I'm going to come to the conclusion that Clinton Road is not the hauntedest place in the world, that none of this stuff's happening.
Exactly.
So what do we have? group of psychos that drive the road that just make up stories.
Yeah, a bunch of drunks out there. And that's what all the accidents for. They're drunk, thinking of stories they can make up, and they crash on a curve.
Yeah, they crash on a curve, and the next thing you know, it's, hey, there was a kid out in the middle with a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to believe all this stuff because that makes it way more fun.
Right.
You know, that these horrifying things are occurring. Not that that's a good thing, but
right,
I mean,
yeah, you don't want it, but
for
still.
Storytelling purposes, you know, you want to come up with, 12 people saw this on that date, you know, and it's like, again, nothing. So park ranger story didn't happen. Neither can we confirm the ghostly vehicles or the little boy that did.
Yeah.
So far we're batting zero.
Yeah. And it's ticking me off.
It's ticking me off.
Now, people claim to have seen people dressed in aged attire at odd hours of the night, standing off to the side of the road, who simply stare at those who see them and do not speak, and they either disappear or are not seen by others present. Sometimes these people appear as actual humans or more apparition-like.
So that kind of reminds me of like the lady in white and stuff, you know, the hitchhikers on the side of the road when you pull over and then they're not there.
Yep.
Or they'll drive past them, pull over and look in the rearview mirror and they're gone. So that random ghostly entity thing, I could see where you might not get any detail on that, you know, even if people called in and say, hey, we saw some people on the side of the road.
Right.
Because you are going to get dismissed.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. You call a police department and say, hey, there were some ghosts standing on the side of the road hitchhiking. I pulled over and they weren't there.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd even send a patrol car out.
No.
You're just going to be like, well, you know, if you see them again, give us a call, you know, kind of thing. And so I can see where you're not going to find any specifics on this.
Yeah, because a good cop's going to ask questions like, did they seem in distress? What's the concern here? Well, it looked like they were hitchhiking, so I pulled over, and when I got out, they were just gone.
And they were wearing clothes from the 1800s.
Yeah.
And they didn't speak.
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, all right.
Yep. All right, thank you. We got that written down. And
1098.
Yep, good to go.
I'm out of here.
Sit back and sip my coffee more and call it a day.
Yeah, exactly. So random ghostly entities.
Yep. I do believe that one.
I could see that.
Yeah. Because I think that happens all over.
Yeah.
Now, whether they're quote unquote ghosts, whole other story, whole other ball game.
Yeah, Lord knows. But that kind of reporting is all over the world.
Yeah. Now, several people have reported seeing hundreds of multicolored lights or UFOs in the sky above the road. This one, there's again, to me, it's kind of like the random ghost apparition on the side. I bet you there have been a lot of people who have seen that. And that's all you're going to get on the report is, I saw lights in the sky. It was triangular shaped. It was hovering. It took off out of nowhere. But
I saw one guy on a website, and it wasn't like him reporting a sighting. It was somebody reporting what he had said kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, I don't even know how to put that, but it wasn't his website. It wasn't like a podcast. It wasn't an interview with him. It's just like somebody put on a blog the name of a guy that said, I saw a spaceship out there that literally could house a small army. So I saw that. And then I thought, when, where, how did you see it? Nothing.
Yeah.
And there's no one to contact to, try and verify that. But here's what angers me. We did a UFO episode.
Right.
I saw a UFO. I had an experience. I could tell you when. I drew you maps.
Yeah.
I drew a picture of the stupid spaceship that I saw. I ran down the whole incident. It's all literally documented with the sheriff's office. And why can't other people do that? And I don't want to hear, oh, you were law enforcement, so you're used to doing things like that. No, I'm not used to seeing UFOs.
Yeah, who's used to seeing UFOs?
But what I can tell you is everything about it. So in this particular case, when it says people have seen hundreds of these, then why can't you find one?
Right.
Why is there not, if you just type in UFO sightings on Clinton Road in New Jersey, Google comes off with, well, UFOs really isn't, that's not the lore of the area.
Right.
That little AI section that they're doing now. It's not really part of the lore. Okay, well, I don't care if it's part of the lore. How many UFO sightings have been on Clinton Road? There's none. You can go on Reddit and you can find a few people that will say, well, I saw an orb. Well, when did you see this orb?
Yeah.
And where on Clinton Road did you see it? You cannot get any specifics.
And I'm okay with, hey, it was like June of last year. I don't remember what day. I do remember it being nighttime. I don't remember exactly what time, but it was that's good enough for me.
That's good enough for me too.
Or it was broad daylight. Yeah. I don't remember the time. It was broad daylight though.
Yeah. Even if they could say something like no specific, like I think it was like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I was on Clinton Road and I was by the reservoir and it was hovering right over the water. Okay.
Boom. Thank you.
I got a great story.
That's perfect.
But I got nothing.
Yeah. I don't expect them to pull out their journal and write it down right there so they can have every detail, but you can give a generalized, like you said, 5 years. It was daytime and I saw this.
Yeah. Nothing.
No.
There's nothing out there. So, but I do agree with you when it comes to ghostly entities and UFOs. I have no doubt that people have seen stuff.
Right.
They just don't document it or give you any kind of detail that we could verify anything actually happened.
And then the other hard part is just if you didn't tell your UFO story, who would know about it besides us?
Right.
And I get you documented it with sheriff's office and all that, but
naval intelligence and everybody else was involved with that one.
But
I'm surprised I'm alive still.
Yeah, exactly. But or even with Grace's, when her and her friends saw one.
Yeah.
Nobody else would know about that unless we talked about it right now, and she told you about it, obviously, and then you told me. But there's still, we could say, hey, it was roughly 5-6 years ago, Grace and her friend were driving and saw this.
Yeah.
In Montana.
There's still an accounting of it because the story was told and it's remembered.
You don't have to say.
So I can go back and tell you everything she told me.
Right.
I know a lot of people that have seen UFOs.
Yeah.
But why in this case, when they say hundreds, but you can't find one person to say, what happened? It's just very frustrating. So moving on and going into the next area, strange creatures.
Yeah.
So when you get into the strange creature thing, it's kind of crazy because they say hellhounds, which we did our hellhound episode and found that, some of the sightings were on Clinton Road. The big black dog with the red eyes that patrols the area.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have seen that. But if you try and pin that down, which we couldn't even do in the hellhound episode.
Right.
To find the person that actually saw it, the date, the time, where on Clinton Road, nothing.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. But hellhounds supposedly patrol the area. There's this experimental albino wolf dog werewolf thing out there that the residents out there have nicknamed Wolfie. Try and find that one.
Yeah.
I typed in, albino wolf dog. I've typed in Wolfie. I've typed in sightings of dog-like creatures. You name it. All the research that you try and pour into this to find anybody that actually says they saw it is very hard to find.
Yeah.
It's not out there. Again, every now and then you might run across one that says people have seen a wolf-like creature that's white in color with fiery red eyes.
Right.
And it's a white hellhound. Well, there is that white hellhound, remember? That he's the guard and protector of vampires.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
But it's no specifics in this particular case. There's been reports of abnormally large monkeys or apes roaming the area. So, okay, what is that? Bigfoot?
Could be Bigfoot.
Is that a Bigfoot? Yeah, because I've heard there's Bigfoot sightings out there. And if you're going to call something an abnormally large ape, well, that's Bigfoot.
Why not just call it Bigfoot? Yeah.
Unidentifiable hybrids that if they're not supernatural in origin, meaning some form of a cryptid,
right,
then they're thought to be survivors of the jungle habitat theme park. And I thought, what's the theme park? What are they talking about? Well, as it turns out, the jungle habitat was an attraction owned by Warner Brothers, opened in 1972. They had 1,500 different types of animals out there, and it was on an 800-acre piece of land. Some of these animals were like zoo-like, where they're in cages and you walk through and see them. And then some of them were in like drive-through sections of the park. Remember, like Safari Land and stuff in California, where you would drive in your car and got to drive by lions and hippos and different things that were just out there kind of in the wild. Well, Warner Brothers had big plans here to expand the park, and community members, I don't know why this went out to vote, they probably had to levy some lands or whatnot to do it, and the community voted it down. So Warner Brothers says, well, fine then, we're just going to close the park. So they do. They close it down in 1976. Well, rumors were that after they sold and vacated this property, several of the animals were just released into the wild, and people also located like animal carcasses strewn over that entire land. Part of the lore is that any of those surviving animals that they just released crossbred and became hybrids that roam the area. Jungle habitat was located about 9 miles from Clinton Road, kind of up to the northeast. And then when you do the research on this thing, you see that the officials, like the city and stuff up there, said that these were clearly only rumors, that no animals were ever released into the wild. They were all, sold to other zoos and other places like that. No carcasses were ever left on the premises, and this is just something that people came up with to, again, create a lore.
Right.
And then if you really think about this whole concept of they were crossbreeding and making hybrid animals that were not known to people, the likelihood of that is very minimal, right? I know, like tigers and lions, and they made the
liger and the tigon or whatever. Yeah.
But it's a cat,
right?
But I don't think, they released like a monkey and an alligator.
Right. Yeah.
And they crossbred and came up with, the lizard man,
right?
Something of that nature, which was part of the lizard man concept that monkeys and alligators made it.
Which is ridiculous.
It's insane. But anyway, I'm just not buying this one.
No.
Now, are there cryptids out there? When we get into the next two things, I think there might be some cryptids out there that are seen. I'm not going to explain it away as a hybrid animal, that it was an escapee or a release from a habitat.
Right.
But is it possible that there are cryptids? I'm going to say yes. Now, some people reported sightings of the Jersey Devil along Clinton Road as well, and there's no evidence to support that.
Right.
Now, we did a Jersey Devil episode. New Jersey's famous for that. And the Jersey Devil had been seen all over New Jersey, but specifically the Pine Barrens area. And this Clinton Road, I'm not going to say would be close enough to that area to even give that credibility. And when you try and research it, there's not one account of anybody that will come on record and say, I saw the Jersey Devil.
Right.
So it's like, done with that one too.
Exactly.
So when it comes to creatures and unidentified animals out there, I'm going to make the jump to cryptid, but I don't believe that they were animals from this habitat.
Yeah.
And I doubt Jersey Devil, but possible, right?
Possible. That one's possible.
Yeah. So now let's get into the Clinton Furnace and the Cross Castle that we talked about in the opening of this, because this is where it ties together. This is, in my book, where this now gets some validity to it.
Yeah. Now I'm like, okay, there is weird stuff happening over there.
Yeah. You want to cover the
I'll get Clinton Furnace here. So, known to some as the Druidic Temple, it is a conical stone structure located just east of the road, south of the reservoir. Some believe it to be a site where local Druids practiced their rituals, and it was said that terrible things might happen to any intruder who looked too closely or came at the wrong time. So, Druids were the religious leaders, judges, healers, astronomers, and political advisors within ancient Celtic societies, who served as intermediaries between the human and spirit worlds. They were supposedly able to communicate with gods and spirits. They believed in reincarnation and were known to gather at stone circles and the like to perform ceremonies and rituals.
And so basically, biblically speaking, these people were considered, at the time, they were priestly.
Right.
But when you listen to what their behavior is, they were necromancers.
Right. And satanic.
Which is satanic.
Right.
And so even though people of the time thought that they were godly, priestly, they were astronomers, they were,
they're spiritual,
good people, and they were spiritual, if they believed they were speaking with gods and spirits from the beyond, and that these things could be reincarnated, they were a necromancer according to biblical scripture, which means they were of the devil.
Right. Now, the building is actually just an iron smelter built in 1826. It was built for industry, not worship. The structure was listed on the National Register of Historical Places in 1976. It is currently fenced off by the Newark Water Department for liability purposes, and there is no evidence to suggest the structure was ever used as a Druidic temple or any place of sacrifice or ritual, which is exactly what they would do. You're not going to just go, yep, we're chopping up babies here, we're drinking blood, and we're doing these sacrifices, and we're having a good old time. You're going to have a front. So, with that being said, you can move on to Cross Castle, but it's demonic.
Okay, so let's just face it.
Yeah.
If there were modern day druids,
right,
that were using this area to perform ceremonies, then it's demonic.
It's demonic.
Which then brings demonic entities and forces
into that area.
Just
like we've talked about in other episodes.
Exactly. And now we're going to go one step further.
Yes.
The Cross Castle. In 1905, a railroad official and a banker by the name of Richard James Cross, he builds this massive stone two-door summer house. Basically, it looks like a castle. I looked at the pictures of it because it no longer exists, but the pictures that they have on file, this place is huge.
Right.
It's unbelievable. It's built like right by the Clinton Reservoir, just north of this Clinton furnace.
Mm-hmm.
He builds it for his wife and his 3 children. He names it the Beaufort House, but it soon came to be known as the Cross Castle. The house cost an estimate $1.5 million when he built it, which would be equivalent to about $40 million today.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. And it was situated on 365 acres of wooded glens, fields, farmlands, along with like a 77-acre body of water known as Hank's Pond. This place had 40 bedrooms and a massive courtyard. After he died in 1917, it was sold to the city of Newark in 1919. And I think I read it was sold for like $155,000.
Which is crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Especially since it cost him $1.5 million back then. 2 years later.
Which just goes to show you what we were talking about earlier, where they're like, they pretty much get it for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So the city buys it for $155K and they don't know what to do with it. So they just leave it. So it eventually falls into ruins, over the years. And it became just a popular destination for hikers and local kids and whatnot, looking for secluded locations to either camp out or have their party or whatever. So eventually a fire guts this place, burns all the wood out of it, and all it ends up leaving is the stone walls and the basic foundation to it. So many visitors to this location told strange occurrences happened in or near the castle site, such as people going into unexplained seizures, bruises appearing on their bodies, or having strange, disturbing visions. And one vision that I was able to locate was somebody said that while they were there, they had this visual image, or they could actually see it, of a young boy being slaughtered. Others report hearing chanting or other unexplained noise coming from the area and surrounding woods. So everybody pretty much feels like this particular site, and this kind of goes back in time as well before it was literally demolished. So during this particular time that people are going, it still has standing walls. So you could kind of go in, and walk around.
Right.
There's no upstairs or anything because everything else has been burned out. But there's walls, and people would say when you walked in there, you could literally hear chanting and stuff. Well, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So you look into it a little more, and you find out that it was widely believed by the people in that area that this particular location had played host to gatherings of the Ku Klux Klan for clandestine meetings, and Satan worshipers where they offered their sacrifices.
There you go.
And so there it is. Now, many people saw writings on the interior walls, particularly in areas that were supposedly inaccessible, that suggested Satanism was present. And I was trying to figure out, what did they mean by it was inaccessible? And well, apparently what it was talking about is like foundationally speaking, there were areas like, well, like take my house, for example. I have a crawl space that you can go into.
Right.
And you can almost stand under my house. In some spots you can, in others you have to bend over, but you still got a good, 4 foot from the ground to the floor joists. And in this particular foundation, apparently it was like a cement foundation and whatnot, there was a basement type area, but no access to it. So there was no like staircase that went down into it. There was no crawl space. It was just an area that when they were going in and doing this demo and whatnot, the worker crew saw stuff down in there and they were like, well, how would anybody even have gotten in here? So I can't really explain that other than it was supposedly an inaccessible area where like hikers, campers and whatnot, they wouldn't have gotten in there.
Right.
Because they had to smash out cement to expose this area.
Right.
Okay. So one person that I found in like a blog in 1977 says he went there with a friend. Now, this is before the whole place was ripped down. He was intrigued by some writings that he saw on the wall. So he copied it down into a little like hand notebook or a journal that he had with him. And his friend takes a picture of it with a crappy camera, because I've seen the picture.
Right.
Several years later, and it didn't say when, but it did say he was now like 70 years old. It doesn't say how old he was in 1977. But he says that his wife died and he was going through stuff and he found this journal in a box that had been put away for, I'm assuming like 30, 40 years.
Right.
And as he's going through it, he finds that little journal and he starts like reading through it. He comes across the page where he finds where he had written down what he saw on the wall in the castle. And then he starts realizing, with age, he kind of knew more things. And he discovers that it was actually an excerpt of one of the writings of Anton LaVey, who was the founder of the Church of Satan. Now, that's not suggesting that Anton LaVey was there and wrote it.
Right.
But that somebody, a disciple of his or whatnot, wrote stuff on the wall. So he goes to a local bookstore and he looks in the Lex Satanicus, which is the book of satanic law, or also known as Satan's Handbook. And he matches what he saw on the wall with something in that book. So I'm checking out the photograph, right? And I can see the words Nazarenus Rex Iudeorum written on the wall. And underneath it, there's like a symbol that I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah.
And you can see the word Viva le Pa, and the P is cut, or the PA is cut off. So it's like the border of the film. That was clearly a word that went on.
Right.
But you can't see it in the photo. And to the left of Nazarenus, there's another word that was illegible. You couldn't see it, but it kind of looked like it ended maybe in a U and an S or an S. And the rest of it, the letters were semi-obliterated, and it was dark because the way the flash went off, it lit up the center of the wall.
And everything else was...
And everything else kind of went out to like a vignette, where it just gets darker out at the edges. Well, I would have thought I would have known this, but I didn't. So I looked up what that Nazarenus Rex Iudeorum is, and it is literally translated to Nazareth, King of Jews. Well, and so my assumption is the S that I saw at the beginning, but it's obliterated, might have said Jesus, because Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, was the sign that Pilate had put above Christ's head on the cross.
Right.
So that's what's inscribed in the wall. Well, that's not to glorify God.
That's to mock him.
That was a mocking.
Right.
And the Vive le Pas, I don't know if it's French or Spanish version, they put V-I-V-E. V-I-V-A would be the Spanish version, Viva, means long live.
Right.
Or let it live or let it be. But I have no idea what that last word was. So I don't know if they're saying, like, here's Jesus, of Nazareth, King of the Jews. There's some like symbol underneath that. And then long live who knows?
Yeah.
Because you can't read it.
Well, if you're mocking, you could guess. If you're mocking Jesus, then you're probably praising somebody else.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, this guy realizes that what he saw when he was much younger was clearly that of the satanic realm. And so his thing is, I no longer can look at that area, that facility that's there, or it's not a facility, but the foundation, that's left behind. He can only look at that now as being like the satanic area. And so that has been lore for many, many, many years, is that people also claim that they see people in, dark clothing, dark hooded clothing. They think there's still satanic activity going on out there. But clearly, somebody was using that facility, or at least doing graffiti of a satanic nature. And I think anytime you're playing with Satan, glorifying his existence and mocking Christ, you're literally inviting,
big time,
asking for demonic entities to enter that realm, of whether it's you, whether they're entering your body or a place or, whatever. That's my personal belief, that this whole Clinton Road thing comes down to
evil
right here.
Yeah.
So even though there's no evidence that any of this existed, people didn't exist, places didn't exist, all that kind of stuff doesn't exist, I now truly believe that this is a haunted, horrifying road because of the evil nature that was unleashed on it by people using it as a satanic ground.
Absolutely.
Well, now Newark's water department classified that castle as an attractive nuisance back in 1988. So they had orders to completely demolish it. So they smashed everything down. The only thing left there, from what I understand, is like a little foundation, and the hiking trails still lead to it. So you can go back there, and there's like cement and rubble and whatnot there. But the spirit world doesn't get destructed.
No.
And so, in my opinion, they can knock that building down, but it's still a home for demonic activity, period.
And now that activity
manifests itself into all these things that people are seeing.
Yeah, which are causing accidents and problems.
People falling out of Jeeps.
Yeah. How do you fall out of Jeeps? That right there is how.
Right, yeah. Just go drive by the Cross Castle.
Yeah.
And you're asking for trouble. So a lot of people will say, I did read, again, on like Reddit and different little blogs, that they traveled the entire length of the road. There's nothing out there, so people should not be fearful of it. Other people say, stay off the road. There's horrifying things out there.
Right.
It just depends what you want to believe.
Yeah.
My assumption is, if there's been satanic rituals being performed out there, whether they're sacrifices or whether they're just glorifying Satan, there's bad things out there.
Yeah.
And so I'd say stay off the road if you don't have to drive it.
Yeah.
And don't be out there trying to manifest something.
No.
So anyway, the bottom line is there's very little evidence to suggest that any of the cryptid sightings or the paranormal activity are in fact true by actual detail. And there's no specifics given on any one incident, no real names, dates, times, or anything to lend credibility to any of the stories that we just talked about until you hit the Cross Castle. And then it's my opinion at that point that you just open the door to the possibility of all of this being true.
Right.
That's all I got.
I'm right there with you. I have nothing to add on because I'm right there with you.
And, usually we try and be silly and laugh through our podcast. In this particular case, there wasn't a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
Because this is just like evil.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even a fun cryptid story. It's kind of like, there's just not much to say other than, man, don't go down that road if you're looking for trouble.
Yeah.
You know?
Unless you're going to drive down it quoting scripture.
Yeah.
Then you'll be good to go.
And even then you could be manifesting
You could.
demons because, you know, they hate the word of God.
Yeah.
So you don't know what they're going to do. That's why some of these people might be walking out of here with bruises and seizures.
Getting yanked out of their Jeep.
Yeah, getting yanked out of their Jeeps and cars catching on fire.
Yeah.
All the kind of horrible things that are going on over there. But anyway, there it is. There's Clinton Road. Now, you know, as we say in every episode, if you have had any experiences
Oh, especially on this one.
on Clinton Road, you ever been down the road or whatever, let us know.
Yeah.
You know, because I would love to hear an actual story from an actual person that actually went down that road, not just what we see on the internet.
Right.
But anyway, you got anything else on Clinton Road?
No, I think we're covered it pretty well on that.
Yeah, same. So in 2 weeks, we hope that you'll join us for our next episode, which will be on vampires.
Yes.
That we're going to kind of leave that one open-ended because that is a big subject.
Yeah.
Dating back many, many years up to modern day stuff.
Yeah. And all over the world.
All over the world.
And maybe even in media.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we don't know exactly where we're going with it.
Yeah. We do know that there's a lot of suggested vampire activity in the New Orleans area.
Yep.
We know that they're in Hollywood.
Yes.
And then you can go all the way back to like Transylvania and the origins of Dracula.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So anyway, it should be a fun episode.
Oh, it's going to be a blast.
So stay tuned, and we hope you join us for the blood-sucking adventures.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the show and you want to help us out, then go ahead and give us a follow, leave us a review, and don't forget to turn on the automatic download button so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And as always, if you've had any experiences, stories, thoughts, comments, or questions, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to cryptidfanatic@gmail.com. Let us know if you'd like to be on the show or just have your story featured during one of our episodes.